Hello and welcome to another edition of Four Wheels Good. This week has nothing but variety. We'll be plugging mud at a 4x4 driving school, trying to detect the engine noise inside a moving Lexus, and viewing the cars of the stars in Las Vegas. But first, classic cars remain one of the abiding interests of the true motoring enthusiast. Expensive, impractical and difficult to insure they may be, but if it's the X factor you're looking for, then look no further.
In recent weeks here on Four Wheels Good, we've been hit by motor show mania. First came the glamour of Paris, and then the motoring heritage of Birmingham, and now it's Manchester's turn. This weekend sees the 15th annual Footman James Northern Classic Car Show. And OK, they're not quite ready yet, but they've got this map and about 9 hours to do it in. Well, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon at the Classic Car Show, and things are looking a bit better than they did a few hours ago. We actually have some cars arriving. Oh, and we've got one now. It looks like the army's arrived. You come to take us on the way?
Well, if you want, yes, I will do.
What an amazing vehicle.
Well, it is rather nice. It's a 1942 Willys MB. To give it its proper title, it's actually a quarter-ton 4x4 reconnaissance and command vehicle. So commonly called a Jeep.
So do you go off at weekends and off-road it and use it?
Oh, yes, I'm afraid I do. It's not a highly polished classic.
Well, this is the other half of the army entourage that's arrived, and it really is impressive. It's a half-track and it weighs 7 tonnes. It's going to take them about 15 minutes to get this thing off. Yeah, 15 minutes? It's a job I don't envy, so we'll come back in a while and have a proper look around it and have a chat to the nutter that owns this vehicle. It's all going a bit pear-shaped here. I'm surrounded by all these cars. I mean, the one thing with these is they are cherished babies and nobody wants to get them scratched, and it's a battle to get in and get the best spots. Unfortunately, they've all arrived at once. Whoa! Not only are we in the middle of a classic car traffic jam, but it's now started to rain, and the one thing these babies don't like is rain. They're used to being kept in a nice snug garage, wrapped up in blankets and polished regularly. The person I pity here today is the poor security guard over there. Come and have a look at him. Because he's got to find the right place for all these vehicles. And the one thing everybody wants is for their cherished darling to have the best spot here. So he's coping with a few egos, I think. Come here a sec.
I've just got a traffic jam at the moment, John. I'm sorry about that. Go on, sweetheart, quickly now.
Okay, Roger, I'll wait for you then.
All right, thank you. Go on, love.
You've got a traffic jam.
I know I have.
You've got the worst job here, haven't you?
No, I've got the good job here, love.
Why have you got the good job?
Because it's only me can do it.
So what do you have to do with all these cars when they
We've
arrive?
got to get them in, love, so they don't cause a congestion on the doors. And at the moment, they are.
So shall I get out of your way? Is that what you're trying to tell me in a nice way?
Mind.
See you later.
Thank you.
Well, do you want it nosing? I want it pointing that way, yeah. Don't let that one do.
Robert, you're from the event organisers. Now you've got 50 trade stands, 70 clubs, about 8 or 9 hours left to get it all ready in. How on earth do you start to do something like this?
Well, we've had a lot of practice. You know, we've been running 15 years, so we know it's going to get together. If you looked at the hall now, you'd wonder how it ever does get together, but it does, and we'll be ready in time.
So how far in advance do you begin planning an event like this?
Well, as soon as one finishes, you start planning for the following year. Immediately, the trade and the clubs are asking about space for the following year, so you've got to get the literature ready and draw the plans up. And then it's a gradual process of basically filling up the space and sorting it out. And then it gets more and more frenetic as it comes to the show, and then on the day you're sort of running around making sure that it's all got together and all those plans that you've been planning for so long are in place and it actually gets put together.
park it there. You can cause a traffic jam. I know it's a nice car and you want everybody to see it.
Oh, there you go.
This must be one of the rare and more unusual examples at this year's Classic Car Show. It's a 1981 Delorean time machine. Now, only 8,500 of these ever got made. 250 of them are still in the country, and this is a very rare one indeed. It must be one of the best things ever to have come out of Sheffield. I mean, why bother with stainless steel cutlery when you can have a stainless steel beauty like this? Michael, the two-track that you finally managed to get off the transporter, technically not really a classic car, so why are you here?
Well, basically the Classic Car Show also covers the wartime Jeep in a way, and
Right.
I was asked to bring this vehicle along to sort of it ties up with the Jeep somewhat.
A bit of window dressing, as
Something
they
like that,
say.
yeah.
I must say you look remarkably calm and rested for a man that has so much to do, but I suppose it comes with the experience. So what are the pitfalls of organising an event like this?
Well, the one you dread is that nobody will turn up. I mean, that's the major pitfall. Fortunately, that's never happened. We always do get a very good attendance. Empty stands, really, if somebody lets you down at the last moment, and that can happen at any time.
Who's dropped out?
I think, is it the Opel Owners Club? They had an accident today, and the car they were going to display has been written off or something, so we've got to sort that out. The other thing that can cause a problem is when they start sort of pinching each other's space. I've had a couple of auto-jumblers just having a fight over their space because one pinched the other person's area, but
You could have given us a shout, you could have got some action shots.
It was almost too much action, that one. I don't think you'd have liked that because I was trying to stop them coming to blows at one time, but we sorted it out. It's everything okay now. Yeah. But generally, people are pretty good. I mean, they do it. The clubs do it as an amateur base on an amateur basis. They do it as fun. They want it to work. They like working together. They like coming to the shows, so it works okay.
There seems to be a lot of people in there that really cherish these vehicles. Do you have sort of quite a few egos to cope with?
Well, yeah, not so much egos. It's more like you're dealing with their babies. Really, you're dealing with their pride and joy. And in some, there are some types of exhibitions where you've got a lot of stand holders, and each one is a customer. But here. Even on the club, if they've got half a dozen cars on the club, then you've actually got half a dozen different exhibitors, because to each of those car owners, their car is the pride and joy and the star of the show, and you've got to make sure that they're happy and that they're accommodated. And when you add all the trade people and all the auto jumbo and all the auction people, it's a lot of different attitudes you're dealing with, and you've got to juggle it all and make sure that everybody's happy.
Now, we've seen a few really big motoring events recently, the Paris Motor Show and the Motor Show at the NEC. Do you think there's still a place for classic car shows? Are they important?
Oh, there's definitely a place. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 major shows in the country. There's one in London, a couple at the NEC, the one we do down in Brittain, the southwest, and the northern show at the GMAX Centre is the major northern show. And there's definitely a place for classic car shows in their own right. The motor show, a massive show, very popular, but really it's about modern cars, and it's about where motoring's going in the future. We're all about motoring heritage and a nostalgia trip, and just a really nice day out, looking at how motoring used to be when it was fun to drive, Well, I didn't bother putting the wall in at the back because you're against the wall anyway.
Well, it's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon, about 5 hours to go, and Robert is looking so calm and relaxed. He's sat here reading his magazine. Robert, how's it all been going?
Well, I'm just going through to check that, the people that should be here are here.
Well, it's about 6:30, 6:45 now, and I'm just ready to go for a drink, basically. I'm absolutely shattered, but these guys are still polishing their cars. Now, that's maybe because they're all in the concours. The fight is on to find the best looking and the best looked after classic car in Britain. Now, this is one of the regional heats, and the finals will be in November at the NEC, so as they say, watch this space. Derek, excuse me. There's a spot of dirt right in there. Just there. It's not good enough. This car may be 41 years old, but it's not good enough. From your point of view, how far in advance do you start preparations for the shows, and what does it involve?
I've been organising concours d'elegance competitions for about 15 years in the country, and we always organise the national championships. Preparation for this one started earlier than this last year, and next year's is already well underway.
So it's a huge job.
Well, no, it's not a huge job, but it's a detailed job, and you've got to get it right. The cars are the best in the country. It would not do for the organisation to fall by the wayside. It's got to be as good as that. So we hopefully run the best concours series in the country with Autocon.
So you're always the last ones to leave, are you?
Oh yes, yeah, sure. We've got a while yet. Yeah.
Just turn the lights off on your way out. Do us a favour.
And I left the office at 3:30 this morning. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, it's been a long, long day. This morning I didn't think it would be possible, but it has been. There's some amazing cars here, and over the next 2 days around 30,000 people will be flooding in through the doors to take a look at them. But right now it's time for the cars to get some rest, and it's time for me to take a little nap.
Sweet dreams, Ginny. There's something very special about classic car ownership. New cars are patently more refined and cheaper to run than many of the models we've seen. But an older car can be a real object of desire, something that needs to be cherished and cared for, a vehicle that may truly encapsulate the era it was designed and built for. Well, we'll have much more coverage of classic cars and related subjects in future weeks, so keep watching. After the break, a feature on a type of driving that needs a strong suspension and very strong nerves. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to Four Wheels Good. Now then, are you the sort of motorist who puts your car through the car wash after driving through a puddle? Well, you may want to avert your eyes for the next 5 minutes as we travel to North Wales to spend a day with a training school which teaches the skills of 4x4 driving.
Never driven off-road in a four-wheel drive vehicle before, prepare for a surprise. It's a topsy-turvy roller coaster world where the normal rules of driving are completely reversed. You'll find yourself doing white-knuckle rides, but at walking pace.
We do 3 days of courses which are the core of the stuff that we do here. It's a bit like learning to ski or any other sport. There's a laid down sort of syllabus, in fact, that we take you through while you're having some fun. And the first day is how you handle the actual machine, how to put it in four-wheel drive, basic machine handling skills. Day 2 takes you out into the mountains, and then you put that into practice. So after day 1 you know how to drive, after day 2 you know where to drive and what the correct code of conduct for drivers in the countryside is, and then day 3 brings all that together and we take you out on a full-blown mountain safari.
But I've come along for Beginner's Day on the off-road courses in the grounds of Flint's Kinsale Hall Hotel. I'm a rare single on the course.
Often we get husbands and wives out, and she actually, I hate to say this, will probably do better than he does, because women listen to everything the instructor says and they do it first time, every time. Whereas the average male driver listens to half what the instructor says, and then when he gets stuck will say, "What was that you said 5 minutes ago?"
And here's course partner Joanna Davies, quietly taking in the basic points of four-wheel driving.
Oh, this is terrible.
While Peter talks me up the first nursery slope.
Well done. Roll mode, nothing to it.
Soon we were tackling a little light mud. Taking our feet off the pedals going downhill. And steering out of the skid on a sideways slope. Until it was time for a dip.
Now welly it, really hard. Go on, go on, go on, go on, go on, go on.
Oh, stalled.
Now, are we going to get out of this? We're in about 3 feet of mud here. Now welly it, really hard. Go on, go on, go on, go on, go on, go on.
After watching Joanna, the mud bath looked distinctly intimidating.
Right, to right, accelerate hard.
No. Is it going to go? Yay! Did it.
That was amazing. I've never done anything which is quite so different from how I'd originally imagined it. I was watching for the top, it all looked very easy, but then once you start, it's like getting rid of all your instincts to do with driving and just trusting. Initial tuition over, it's time for a play. But even the toys are off-roaders.
We try to give, as we say, on our Super Drive Day, which is the day that's going on here, the chance to drive the complete cross-section. Everything from the little Suzukis, the SJ410s, 413s, which are at the sort of, I would say, the starter end of the market where most people would actually first come in, right through to the top range, the big Toyota 4.2, which is obviously £28,000–30,000 worth.
And they'll tackle just about anything, as Joanna was discovering on the interestingly named Quarry Circuit.
Do I steer now?
Now steer about there, yeah?
I'm not
So
I'm never sure when it's going to steer itself.
What you've got to remember is it's a big vehicle, isn't it?
So, more gas?
Just a squeeze.
Oh, I think I've just knocked down some poles.
Well, we're actually supported by the majority of the off-road manufacturers now. We floated the idea of four-wheel drive training, 4 years ago.
I want to put my feet on the pedals, I want to brake.
Just dig the brake then. Right, steer back towards you. Quick, 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 quick. There you go. Keep her there. Absolutely still.
Ooh.
Brilliant. In one go. Look at that. Well done.
Oh.
And your foot didn't go near the pedal.
I didn't, did I? I was too frightened.
The end of the course and time to go. But at Motor Safari, they found that just one day can make the bug bite hard. Sometimes.
Great fun and a real test of driving skills. Nicky Fox there in North Wales at Motor Safari. Well, after all that mud plugging, let's turn to the smooth, refined world of luxury cars. We asked motoring journalist Steve Fowler to show us the car he's driving at the moment.
5 or 6 years ago, if you wanted to buy a prestige car, you'd come here. You'd buy a BMW or a Mercedes even. You wouldn't even consider a Japanese car, would you? Japanese make Toyota Corollas and things like that, don't they? Well, that's when the Lexus came along. In 1991, Toyota introduced their new luxury brand. It was time to take the Japanese seriously. So how well are the Japanese getting on at mimicking the Germans in the luxury car market? Well, the Lexus certainly has the looks to compete and doesn't look out of place in a regal setting such as this. The looks are definitely conservative, but they compare well to the Mercedes S-Class. This Lexus definitely has a huge amount of road presence. And Toyota have been very clever in the styling of the car. About 18 months ago, they did an awful lot of development to make it much better, much quieter, more refined. But crucially, they kept the looks very similar. And that's the key to keeping residuals high. When you're spending £46,000 on a luxury car, you don't want it to be worth next to nothing in a couple of years. There's no denying the LS400 is a big car. There's a huge boot and plenty of space on the back seat if you want to sit in the back and let somebody else take the strain up front. Which, let's face it, if you're spending this sort of money on a car, you might as well let somebody else take the strain. This is the key to the Lexus's refinement. Its heart, the engine, 4-litre V8. Huge amount of power. But what is really impressive about this is just how quiet the thing is. Turn the key and the only thing you notice that gives you a clue to what the car's doing is the rev counter beating away. Other than that, you'd have no clue that this thing under here was working. So you pay £46,000 for a Lexus, and you can pay the same money for a BMW or a Mercedes if you want to. But what does the Lexus give you that the other cars don't? Well, in the Lexus LS400, you've got every conceivable luxury you could want. Even the steering wheel is electrically adjustable. There's an advanced climate control system and the sort of stereo that wouldn't be out of place in your sitting room. The driving experience is absolutely superb. It's very, very quiet in here. The only real guide to whether the engine is ticking over or not is given by the rev counter. And the ride is supremely supple. You only really notice the very nastiest of bumps on the road. It's the sort of car you don't really mind spending hours in a traffic jam in. Crank up the air conditioning, put something good on the CD, and sit back and relax. I think I'd be happy driving this everywhere. Apart from one place, down a country lane. The Lexus is a little bit big, a little bit cumbersome, and okay, you've got plenty of power under your foot, but there's just no feedback from this chunky steering wheel at all. The rear-wheel drive layout means that there's a fair amount of grip and power from the back, but there's no traction control. So if you're on slippy cobbles or a wet road with leaves on it, keeping the back end under control if you're trying to push on can be a little bit of a problem. The instrument panel is an absolutely delight, very clear, and it's the only indication really to tell you that the car's doing some work. What really lets this car down though is its feel, and that's down to some of the controls as well. You get similar sort of indicator stalks and wiper stalks that you'll find on a Toyota Corolla at £10,000. And when you're buying something that you want to feel a little bit special, that just isn't good enough. And sell the Australian mining shares, would you? There's a good chap. Well, the Lexus LS400 may not be a huge bundle of laughs to drive, but from sitting back here, things are looking very good indeed. Comfortable, plenty of space, and even hidden away in the armrest down here, I've got cup holders and my own heated seats. Drive on please, Ginny, and don't spare the horses. Thanks very much.
The Lexus owner may be many things, but the chances are that they put all thoughts of Formula One glory well and truly behind them. But for many people, the joy of owning a performance car is only complete when they get the chance to test it to the limit on the track. We went along to a day organised by JCT 600, dealers of prestige vehicles, and arrived to get our instructions for the day.
But yeah, bear this in mind, some cars are very quick around corners, they don't have much power for the straights. And that can be particularly frustrating for those cars if they're trying to overtake a car which is perhaps 2 seconds a lap slower, but much quicker down the straight, because obviously they can't get past them down the straight. So if you find a car that's, you know, climbing all over you in the corners, just let them through, let them get past. Once they're past, they'll leave you behind, and again, they'll be doing their own thing. If you see a red flag, we've had to stop the session, so we want you to slow down and come back into the pit lane at the end of that lap. Again, no undertaking under the red flags. Blue flag you may see out there, that you probably won't see it too much, but if you do, that flag is to tell you that there's a car behind which wants to overtake. So move over to the right as soon as it is practical and let them overtake on the left-hand side. If you see a black flag, it's telling you that you need to report to the clerk of the course, again Colin. You've probably done something wrong.
The idea behind today's event is to give all our customers an opportunity to drive their cars on a circuit to exploit the full potential of the driving possibilities and standards of their cars, really. Normally we organise them ourselves, but this year the RMA have organised it on our behalf, and it's proved to be very, very successful. We try and cover our costs with the income that we receive from the track day participants. Invariably there is a shortfall which we fund, but from our point of view it's excellent marketing and excellent PR for both JCT 600 and the RMA.
I've got a silver Dino, a 246, and also I've got a 250 GTL Lusso. The other two are like my pride and joy, so I don't let them out on the track. I just keep them at home and just drive them, just taking it out on a Sunday, something like that. This is about the 12th event I've been to. I've been to Oulton Park before, which is early on in the year with the Ferrari Owners Club. I helped run the Northwest Ferrari Owners Club.
generally meet with the members once a month, go to the events that we stage. I do have other cars. I have a four-wheel drive. My wife has her own car. I use this one, as I say, for my own pleasure. I'd like another Ferrari eventually, a newer one.
RMA run 26 events during the course of a year at circuits around the countryside. We use all the major circuits in the country. And in fact, we're one of the major hirers of motor racing circuits. We put on the days for a private membership, but today we're running an event specifically for JCT 600, who are one of the country's largest dealers of prestige motor vehicles. They've invited their clients along for the day, their customers, to come out and just enjoy a day's driving around one of the country's best circuits here at Oulton Park. Normally we run two types of event: our normal circuit club driving days, which are for the broad membership of the club, and we also run very exclusive paddock club events, with which members pay a fee for the year to have almost exclusive use of the circuits. We limit numbers on those days to about 20-25 cars, and we open the pit lane for the day for members to use the circuit as they wish. During a normal club day, we run sessions. Over the course of the day, we break the drivers into 3 groups for the purpose of grading them. The groups are green, blue and red, and we cycle through the groups in half hour.
Well, good afternoon. Here we are going around Oulton Park on a typical British day. It's beginning to pour with rain. We've had a lovely morning. I'm here on a track day with the RMA run JCT 600 group high performance day, really. Going into this bend here, we're going to go around this one here, into the chicane again here, and as we come out again, it's probably still a little bit slippier here, yeah. Yes, it's very slippy still there. So we have to get away from the water as quickly as we can, and off up the hill. Just being very careful, being finger-like with the car, and that would no problem at all. And into the pits. As you can see, we've got all the safety features here, marshals on all the corners, breakdown trucks, ambulances, all the things necessary to make a good, safe, enjoyable day for everybody. And as we're pulling into the pits now, there's a couple of Ferraris and a few Porsches about. And as you can see, everybody's coming out now. How about that? There we are. Nice day. Good afternoon.
You can't say that we don't give you plenty of ideas for a weekend's motoring entertainment. Well, earlier on we had an intriguing glimpse of one of the classic Back to the Future cars built by Delorean in Belfast. Of course, the bulk of the vehicles went to the States, but what happened to them? Was the principle sound, even if Delorean's money wasn't? We'll find out more after the break. This is Four Wheels Good on the Granada Men and Motors channel. The Delorean car plant in Belfast was set up with huge amounts of government money, and as we all know, the project didn't go quite as well as expected. But let's not dwell on political or financial considerations. Let's salute the design of this groundbreaking vehicle from the 70s by visiting a band of DeLorean enthusiasts in Los Angeles.
Twilight's last gleaming, and the DeLoreans come out to play in Southern California. This is the car that became a time machine in the movies, but they're lasting so long it looks like they'll all get back to the future. And day or night, they'll still be as alike as peas in a pod. David, which one's yours?
Let's see, the silver one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope you'll have different keys.
I never thought of that. We may all be able to start each other's car. That's a good thought. But no, they're very much alike, but very different. For example, my car has over 200,000 miles on it. I drive it every day. Others, of course, they've stored them, and they're similar to coming off the assembly line, so there's quite a difference in them. I can't believe what a good car it is. John DeLorean said he's going to build a car that'll last a lifetime, and I think it probably will. Maybe they'll bury me in the thing.
However good the car, it still needs some spares. So the owner of the world's largest DeLorean service centre isn't too unhappy about the car's long life. These cars look in very good condition, and I hear they're durable, but how durable is durable?
Well, actually, we have many cars with us here today with over 100,000 miles on them. One on the end has about 220,000 miles. The one next to us here has about 165, 170,000, and some in between there and a bit below.
So if they're so strong, do they bring you much business as far as servicing goes?
Servicing is remarkable. The servicing is done on the ones that aren't used very much. If they're used, they seem to run well. If they're not used, they seem to be a little pooped sometimes.
What about replacement panels? Because this brushed steel is quite unique, isn't it?
It's unique, but there are plenty of panels available if necessary. But most of the time, they don't have to be replaced.
Okay, you're selling me gradually. How much would a DeLorean... I mean, do people sell them ever? Are they hard to pick up?
They do. But actually, a good DeLorean in good condition today, a nice one, runs about what they sold for 10, 12 years ago, $22,500 to $27,500. In about 5 years, we see them approaching $45,000 to $50,000, and in 7 to 10 years, $75,000 to $100,000.
So you're hanging on to yours, I guess?
Absolutely.
The DeLorean Owners Association is an impressively well-organised group whose members share more than a car in common.
In the years that we've had the association, which is going on 11 years now, and as membership director, I've come to know a lot of the people who have bought the car, and they say what their occupations are. And we always find that there's some common denominator with these people, and I boiled it down years ago that we call them risk takers. They either like to fly airplanes, ride motorcycles, scuba dive, hang glide, parachute, and some of them even jump in bungee cords. Past 11 years, our membership has grown from 7 people in Los Angeles to 4,400 people around the world. But they all share this one thing: they're not afraid to take a risk, and they enjoy this automobile. Wow. And when you sit in here and close these doors up, it's quite a bit like having a airplane around you. You don't have the wings, but it'll fly.
Well, you nearly have the wings.
Well, we do when the doors are up, and we parade with the doors up.
Oh, wonderful.
When we do our parades, and we're invited to parades all over the states for various events. And when we're driving in a very low speed mode with the doors up, the crowd loves it. The Back to the Future movie has just immortalized this car. Every young lad in the world knows what a DeLorean is. And when you're driving down the freeway and you sense somebody's on your blind side and you turn around, you look, and sure enough, here's somebody going down the freeway at 70 miles an hour and somebody in the back's shooting pictures of the car. The DeLorean is well loved.
Nice looking motor for its time. It's strange that when we look over a car, we see through the components which may have taken as much time and money to develop as the metal panels. Modern glass technology means that we can have cars in all sorts of curvy aerodynamic shapes. However, in the pioneering days of motoring, glass had to be either flat or, well, flat. It didn't just look boring, it could be pretty dangerous as well.
I suppose in the first instance with motor cars, they had nothing to screen them from the wind and rain. Glass was available, but glass wasn't very safe. But for many years, people used plate glass, ordinary plate glass in windscreens, with obvious consequences, with some very serious accidents. And this was a position that went on until 1910, when, like all good chemistry, some chemist knocked a flask of material over onto the floor, left it overnight, and when he came back, the flask was still in one piece. What he'd done is to make cellulose acetate, and cellulose acetate polymerizes to give you celluloid, and so celluloid was the first interlayer material on a laminated windscreen. The celluloid bound the glass together so that in the event that it broke, it didn't fly. It was much more safe. The old glass, which was laminated, the cellulose acetate or cellulose nitrate type of laminate, had a feature which many of you may remember, which is that it tended to go yellow in sunlight. So some of the very old cars from the 1920s looked as though they had yellow glass. This was just a degradation of the cellulose nitrate in the interlayer.
These days, the production of laminated glass incorporates PVB instead of the old yellowing cellulose nitrate. The 1949 Austin A90 was one of the first to use a curved screen with a wraparound rear, and as time went on with car designs, a larger area could be glazed without compromising safety, strength or optical quality. If you wonder why there are these black bits around the edge of your windows, they're actually ceramic obscuration bands, baked on and help to stop sunlight from affecting the strength of the adhesive which keeps the glass secure. When you look at the variety of vehicles on our roads today, you'll appreciate the work that glass manufacturers do. Some hatchbacks have huge rear screens with steep angles of rake requiring improved optical quality. Manufacturers have demanded glass which is completely flush with the body for reduced drag and wind noise. We also have today heated windscreens and side windows, tinted glass, and glass which restricts heat transmission. We'll have more on car glass topics in coming weeks, but auto historians wonder if the takeoff of the safer laminated glass would have been as quick if Henry Ford hadn't had an accident.
Henry Ford had a road accident, which is reported in the press, and so somebody from XXX actually sent a cable telling him what was available, and of course the product went from there.
And in future weeks we'll look at advances in glass technology and show how designers have to take glass shapes into consideration at very early stages of new car designs. Well, after the break, Stirling Moss discusses whether driving fast is the same thing as driving dangerously. Welcome back to Four Wheels Good, your weekly motoring magazine. On the race circuit, sheer speed is an essential part of the equation that'll get you past the checkered flag first. But on public roads, it's another matter completely. Here's Mike Rutherford and Stirling Moss.
Speed kills, say the government. Would you go along with that?
Under certain circumstances, yes, but I don't think necessarily. I mean, it's the abuse of speed and the probably speed by the wrong people in the wrong car under the wrong circumstances. Yes, that's bad.
Again, ironically, if you're doing the right speed, in other words, you're keeping below the speed limit.
You're not necessarily right, though.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems to me you can keep within the speed limit and you can stick to the bumper of the car in front, which is a big problem.
Yeah.
You can have your fog light on when you don't need to have your fog light on. You can be lighting cigarettes, using your mobile phone, changing lanes
But
without
I've never
looking.
heard of anybody pinched for using a mobile phone. Have you?
Well, it's a very grey area. In fact, the latest news that I'm getting, and in fact the RAC have advised me, that anybody who is prosecuted for using a mobile phone should challenge that prosecution because it's a very, very grey area in terms of the law.
I must tell you, Mike, I think you use it probably. I think it's really bad. I know, I really seriously think it's very bad when people have handheld.
Yeah.
I think it's really bad because half the time they're driving with their hand on the top of the wheel, holding the thing, and they're not concentrating on their driving. That's the trouble. And I think it should be. I think it should be outside the law. I don't think it should be allowed.
I couldn't agree with you more, but the point I'm really trying to make is those people are getting away with it because the cameras are not grabbing those people. They're the people the cameras should be pinpointing, or somebody should be pinpointing, because they're the real dangerous people. The people doing 75 on a 70-mile-an-hour motorway, seems to me, aren't doing anything wrong at all.
When you find your utopia, let me know and I'll join you. But the trouble is, until they get a camera to recognise the thing and do it, I mean, it means somebody's going to be sitting there with it.
What about more police officers out there in patrol cars?
I think if the patrol cars are doing what one hopes they do, in other words, making sure drivers drive intelligently, then I think it's a good idea. I do, but having said that, I don't particularly like looking in my mirror and seeing a car sitting behind.
I've been with you in a car a few times, and I think a lot of people are not going to believe this, but let me tell them, it's absolutely true. When you overtake people, you often sound your horn at them, not to have a go at them and to tell them to get out of the way, but to actually remind them that you're there.
Yeah.
In fact, ironically, in a lot of third world countries these days, in parts of Asia, for example, they use exactly the same principle. Everybody's sounding their horn to
They read
warn
my
people.
stories.
Yes. But the other thing you do, of course, is raise your hand to acknowledge that you've overtaken somebody. Oh, and why do you do that?
I guess it must be a habit. Every single car that I passed in a motor race, I either thanked or I shook my fist. Shaking my fist meant I was displeased. Thanking them meant I was pleased. And I think now that if somebody lets me past, okay. Not if they don't pull over or they're nasty, then I won't do it. But if somebody's waves you on or something, then I'm very pleased that they do that. But you see, I reckon the motorists don't use their rear view mirror very much. Otherwise, they'd have be more aware of what was going on behind.
Isn't the other problem that when somebody sounds their horn, that's instantly received as a sign of aggression? Somebody did it to me today. They sounded their horn pretty violently.
Oh, it depends how you do it. It's like shouting, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and speaking. I mean, if you raise your voice, that's one way of saying something. But I normally just give a toot to say, listen, I'm coming past. And I agree with you. Even with motorbikes, sometimes if I'm going past because I'm worried about it, I toot. They don't always take it the way it's meant.
Yeah. So your advice to people is, if you go round somebody, if you've perhaps gone a little bit too close to them, not that you should, not that there's any need to go too close to anybody if you're overtaking properly, but if you've maybe chopped in a bit quicker than you thought you were going to, and you've maybe given the little old lady a bit of a scare behind you, raise your hand. Acknowledge what you've done.
Up, thank you. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think so.
I think it'll go a long way. I think people are a bit afraid to do it, same as they're afraid to smile at each other.
But Mike, you know, I think one of the most important things on the road, frankly, is people driving uninsured, and that comes up. You know, you read of somebody with uninsured and there's been an accident, somebody may be gravely hurt, and I feel the law should change, where but with the car disc thing should be an insurance disc which shows the date, so that if somebody sees, if the police see the insurance is out of date, that's when they should hit them, I reckon.
Yeah. Let's just get this straight. On your windscreen you would have an annual insurance disc that would relate to that vehicle or that driver.
And would show the date that it's insured from this date to that date. In other words, it would have to be in date. Because at the moment, you can go along, show an insurance policy, which may run out in a few days after, or a week after or something, and then you can still tax and insure the car.
Yeah.
Or tax it, not insure it.
The other beauty of that sort of insurance disc system means that while those parking attendants are out there having a go at us for overrunning our time on a parking meter for a minute, they can also check those discs and report those cars that don't have them.
Yeah. It's very serious.
Indeed it is, and more from Stirling as always next week. Now then, the only time I ever gamble is when I eat out. Nicky Fox braved her way past hordes of flutter-frenzied fiends at the gambling capital of the world, Las Vegas, to discover a motoring museum dedicated to the rich and famous.
Las Vegas, the city that never sleeps, and it's home to a world-class car collection that never closes either. Right on the Strip, 7 days a week throughout the year, you can walk among the Imperial Palace Hotel and Casino's collection of 800 rare, classic and celebrity cars. Everywhere you look, there's a legend. From the incredible Isotta Franchini to Elvis Presley's gas guzzler. In between, there's Marilyn Monroe's car in mink, and even Howard Hughes' car is out in the open. Behind the candelabra, Liberace. And there's plenty of presidential cars to choose from. We leave it to you to decide whether you prefer the car to its previous owner. There are hundreds of glittering American classic cars, and there's one very special car I've come to see. First, I checked in with the collection's director, ex-auctioneer Hagen Stewart.
The collection was started by the Imperial Palace Hotel and Casino in 1981. We decided to give the opportunity to the public to see some of the antique and classic cars that have been offered throughout the world.
So how many people come through here each year?
We have approximately 2 to 2.5 million per year.
That's quite a number, and you're open very long hours too.
We're open 7 days a week from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m.
Okay, so what would you say was maybe the most valuable car here?
Probably be hard to say. I've got a Mercedes 500K, that's a very rare and unusual car. I've got a couple of Duesenbergs that are probably in excess of $3 million. So it's hard to say the most valuable.
And which are your most favorite?
I'm very favorite is the Duesenberg Cars. No one in particular, just the Duesenberg in general.
Why is that?
They were just so far ahead of their time for in the 30s. The engineering of the engine, the transmission, the self-lube oil, just quite a well-built car.
And it's one particular Duesenberg I've come to see, this magnificent 1931 Model J Murphy-bodied Beverly sedan. It appeared at America's exclusive Pebble Beach Concourse event. This car was restored by residents of Indian Springs.
We have 2 restoration shops, one here in Las Vegas itself and then one out at Indian Springs Prison. All the cars are basically completely restored, stripped down, painted, engine mechanical and everything, so that once they come back here, they all are in running condition.
And how did you build up the connection with the prison?
It started about 2 years ago. Mr. Richie Klein, the administrator of the collection, got together with the wardens of the prisons and decided it would be a rehabilitation program and a training program for the prisoners and also be benefit to us.
With that one invitation, the prison restoration team have acquired real status.
A gentleman out at the prison did a complete restoration, interior, exterior, and did a beautiful job. We took it to Pebble Beach this year. Also took it to the Auburn Cord show in Auburn, Indiana this year, which it won a prize there. Did a very nice job on it.
How did it do in the concourse competition?
Pebbles Beach, it's such competition up there. We did not place, but it was just a pride that we've got the car in there and it was restored by the prisoners, which was a real special for Richie and I to have that car up there.
Frustrating for them that they couldn't go along, I guess.
Yes, very much so.
But there's always next year or the year after, because one thing these guys have got is a lot of time on their hands. So in the second part of our report, I'll be dropping in at the desert prison where the convicts turn wrecks into treasures.
So join us next week when Nicky takes a camera crew behind the wire fence. We'll also have another wide range of motoring subjects covered. If it's got 4 wheels and an engine, it'll be here. We'll leave you with some beautiful images from the opening day of the Northern Classic Car Show. Until next week, goodbye.